So today, we're going to dive into the work of a futurist named Benking. For decades, he's been tackling a problem that, let's be honest, affects every single one of us. How do we make sense of a world that just feels impossibly complex? Well, his answer might just change the way you see, well, everything.
You know that feeling, right? The constant flood of notifications, headlines, data. It's like you're just trying to keep your head above water, totally submerged in information. And Benking, he really hits the nail on the head with this one. He says we're not just overwhelmed, we're actually being dumbed down by it all. Why? Because we've lost the ability to see the bigger picture, to find the connections that actually give all that information its meaning.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Benking suggests that maybe, just maybe, the flood of information isn't the real problem. The real problem is the container we're trying to put it all in, our own limited perspective.
So, what's his diagnosis for this mess? It's actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly profound. He says our way of seeing the world, the very framework we use to understand everything, is fundamentally flat.
And look, this isn't some new idea he just cooked up. He's been talking about this since the late 80s, pointing out that our biggest challenges, from climate change to political division, they all come back to this one basic problem. We just can't perceive the world in its true depth and complexity.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got flat thinking. This is where most of us live, right? In our own little silos, our academic fields, our professional bubbles, our social media echo chambers. And on the other side, you have deep thinking, which is all about seeing across those boundaries, about understanding the connections between different viewpoints to create a context that we can all share.
And here's the thing, this isn't an accident. We are trained for this flat world. Our universities, our companies, they reward us for specializing. They want us to dig deeper and deeper into one narrow trench. But they almost never teach us how to look up and see the entire landscape, and how all those trenches are actually connected. So if the problem is a flat worldview, what on earth is the solution? This is where Benking's idea gets really cool. He says we need to become architects, but architects of the future.
Just think about that for a second. An architect would never just start throwing up a skyscraper, right? Of course not. First, they build a model, a tangible, physical thing that everyone can gather around, point to, argue about, and improve. Benking says we need to do the exact same thing for our big collective challenges.
And he has a specific name for this, an extensional model. All that means, really, is that it's an external, physical version of an idea. It takes the argument out of our heads, where all our biases and blind spots are locked in, and it puts it right on the table in front of us, where we can all see it, touch it, and explore it together.
And get this. This isn't some radical new behavior. A UNESCO paper that Benking often refers to points out that this is just what we do. We are fundamentally model-making animals. It's how we've made sense of the world since the dawn of time.
Okay, so what does one of these models actually look like in practice? Let's get concrete and check out an amazing example that really brings us all to life, the Rubik's Cube of ecology. So picture this. It's 1990. People are getting ready for the big Rio Earth Summit. But there's a huge problem. You've got scientists from totally different fields, and you've got politicians. And they can't even agree on a basic way to talk about global change. They were all stuck in their own flat, siloed worlds. So Benking built a model to give them a shared language. He called it the Rubik's Cube of ecology. And it's brilliant because it breaks down all this insane complexity into three simple, intersecting dimensions. First, you've got disciplines. The natural sciences, the life sciences, the humanities. Then you've got scales, from the tiny micro level to the community meso level, all the way up to the macro planet level. And finally, you have time, past, present, and future. And that's the magic right there. Instead of having a flat, boring checklist of issues, you suddenly have a three-dimensional space to play in. You can start asking questions like, hey, how does a micro-level discovery in the life sciences today affect the macro-level humanities of the future? All of a sudden, you start to see connections that were totally invisible before. But using these models, it's about so much more than just organizing information better. It's really about fundamentally changing how we think and how we talk to each other. It's like a workout for your brain. It forces you to practice the skill of perspective taking, of seeing the world through different eyes, which is, you could argue, the most critical skill we need in the 21st century. And Benking has these fantastic metaphors for it. Are you taking the worm's eye view, deep in the details on the ground? Or maybe the fish's eye view, seeing how everything is fluidly connected? Or are you flying high with the bird's eye view, getting that big picture from above? The whole point is to be able to shift between all of them, so we can finally achieve the group I, a real shared understanding.
And this is the real payoff. The whole conversation shifts. It stops being about I'm right and you're wrong. Instead, it becomes, okay, we have this shared model in front of us. From your perspective, you see this. From my perspective, I see that. So how do we negotiate those different truths within this world we all share?
Okay, so this all builds up to a much larger, much more ambitious vision for where we could go from here.
At the end of the day, this whole thing is about empowerment. When we make our complex world visible, when we can actually lay it out on the table and see how all the pieces fit together, we can finally start to negotiate it. We can have real, productive conversations about how to change it for the better, together.
Which leaves us, and you, with this one final, crucial question. If we accept that we're all model-making animals, constantly building models of the world whether we realize it or not, then the only choice we have is whether we do it consciously. So, what future are you choosing to build?